to the Speedway Tavern. What's the news today? Have a drink, have your say. All opinions here today. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Enjoy your stay. Webby, GA, and Matt are here today. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Come and have your say.
So, welcome to 2025. Welcome to what will very soon be a brand new season. All three leagues, or is it four, have their fixture lists ready, their riders signed, and they face this new season along with their fans full of hope, excitement and possibility. Except, I personally just feel jaded. My team Birmingham have suffered 2 seasons in a row that can be best described as awful. And I know that and accept that there were many, many good reasons for this. And I also accept that Nigel Tully and his team have had everything stacked against them. And I must say I admire them for their persistence. But the last few years have knocked the stuffing out of me. I imagine I'll speak more on this during the show. I do feel this year's team is better than last year's, but then it would have been difficult for it not to have been better. And I think it's probably really expensive. So hats off to Nigel for not, for the first time, putting his money where his mouth is. But it's more than this. It's a slow trickle of clubs disappearing. It's the many times Speedway shoots itself in the foot. It's the loss of Cardiff because Speedway in this country doesn't seem to be able to generate the audience to make it viable. It's just worn me down. So, audience, listeners, it's your job tonight to make me fall in love with this sport all over again. So, good luck. Only in Speedway. Good evening, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Good evening, everyone. Yeah.
Have we all had a good festive season?
Fantastic.
Can't remember it, to be honest. It seems that it's just over a month ago, so it seems that longer than that, doesn't it, really, when you think about it? But
yeah.
Happy Easter.
Yeah, it does, but yeah. So, looking forward to the new season.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, second year in a row for me where I've got no team to support, obviously, but we can just sort of keep hoping on that one. But I think, I think the top league, I think there's probably one team that stands out, but I think there's a lot of competitive sides in that league at the moment, and I think similar with the championship as well.
What do we think about the dividing the third tier into 2 divisions in the way that they've done it?
Well, I think it'll be good for a club like Birmingham because obviously that guarantees extra meetings. That was one of the big problems they had last season.
Yeah.
Was
A lot of clubs have had that problem.
A lot of clubs, where that you can't have clubs going 2 or 3 weeks without a home fixture because that's why fans get out of the habit of going. So that's good for them. It gives an opportunity, obviously, as well for some more of the young British riders to get more regular competitive racing under the belt as well, and hopefully the fans will support it. So, and we've been pretty good over the last few years of bringing through a lot of younger riders, and you've seen with the performances of the national side over the last 3 or 4 seasons, 2 Speedway Nation title wins, and of course almost upset Poland in the World Cup a couple of years ago.
I mean, riders is a problem, isn't it? We haven't got enough riders. When you have a team like Birmingham that spent all last year and last few years trying to bring riders up, British riders, with the sort of 3rd level speedway and 4th level speedway that we've been running all of that time, and we haven't got one British rider apart from the Rising Star, of course, in the team. And because the riders are not there, the riders of the sort of capability that you need in the Premier League, are not there. I mean, some of them are off gallivanting in Poland and so on, but I'm not blaming them for that. You go where the money is, of course. But we need more riders.
We do need more riders. There's no two ways about that. There have been attempts, obviously, in recent years to sort of try and have a quota of homebred riders. But ultimately, teams want to be successful, and if they feel that they're more successful having overseas riders in their teams, so be it. But
Well, before we sort of start looking at things like who's going to win which league, we probably should bring up the fact that we've lost Cardiff as a GP. For me, it was a bit of a shock. I don't know how you feel about that, whether it was for you.
it was sort of. I can remember when I came away from Cardiff last year, and it did sort of cross my mind: could this be the last one? I think the last couple of years, although the last two Cardiff Grand Prix last seasons and certainly the year before were probably two of the best ones in terms of racing. 2023 in particular was exceptional after such a terrible 2022. There's an argument, of course, that maybe the novelty had sort of worn off a little bit, but I felt. But I mean, I'm disappointed that the fact that they put it on the schedule and then taken it off. And I know that people have already booked time off and booked hotels and things like that. Now I know that these people can get refunds. It's easy to do that now, but that's not really the point. They obviously would have known when the calendar was first put out that there was concerns about the viability of Cardiff. So why put it on the calendar?
Exactly.
I'm disappointed to lose Cardiff. I know Cardiff had a lot of its critics, and maybe I'm sort of biased because I thoroughly enjoyed going to Cardiff. I went to every single one from when it went there in 2001.
I mean, the one thing I would say about that is name me one track that hasn't got critics.
Absolutely.
I mean,
yeah. But and of course the big insurance policy with Cardiff, of course,
the roof.
It's got a roof. Are they going to build a roof at Bellevue? Because everyone's obviously got a bit of a downer about Bellevue being Manchester and Manchester being rain. I think, in terms of the track itself, Bellevue's ideal for the Grand Prix. It's a brilliant racetrack. It's got the potential to be. There's going to be a little bit of home advantage. I think Brady Kurtz and certainly Dan Bewley are going to have a huge home advantage at Bellevue, and they're going to be going for the win in that one.
But that's okay, because whenever you go around the world, people do have home advantage. That's not.
Cardiff didn't really offer that, did it? Because
no.
It wasn't a regular track.
Yeah.
It was also maybe slightly different every single season. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how that one goes. But I just worry really the logistics of Bellevue. I mean, I've been to Bellevue for meetings, and sometimes it's been horrendous trying to get out of the place. Car parking's not great there, and it's a shame really, because as I say, as a track, it offers everything. Brilliant racing, but hopefully it works. I do think it's a bit of a risk running two Grand Prix there.
I was going to ask,
one on a Saturday. What is it? One Saturday, one Sunday.
One Saturday and one Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody who's probably old enough to remember was it 87 when the World Final was in Amsterdam? That was a 2-day final. That didn't really work.
Is it a 2-day final, or is it two finals?
It is two GPs.
Two GPs, isn't it? Which seems
a big opportunity for someone to really get a bucket load of points in one weekend if they can do well in both of them. But Cardiff has offered so much in terms of the event and everything that surrounds it, because it's right in the heart of the city, and you can do all sorts of things. There's bars, pubs. You've got the castle. You've got all sorts of things that are going on in Cardiff throughout the weekend, and a lot of people who maybe haven't got tracks anymore, they use the Cardiff weekend as their big. We've described it in the past, haven't we? Speedo needs his big day out. And I think for a lot of people, Cardiff was. So I'm sad that it's gone, and more than disappointed at the sort of way that it was sort of.
The way it was handled,
having said that it was definitely going to be on, and then they changed their mind a few weeks later. I think disappointed by that. I know Cardiff had its critics in terms of the track, and but you can't guarantee that even a conventional racetrack is going to be brilliant. On the day.
Absolutely not.
On the day, so.
Particularly if you're in a place that you can't guarantee the weather, which will play a big part.
I think the biggest problem that Cardiff had in recent seasons is the moving of the dates, because I think when it was its prime, it was always in July, which is an ideal time to have it. I think the last couple of times it's been August, September, so it's been during the start of the football season, so you've lost people who've been doing that. And having it in August, particularly on a bank holiday August, people are on holiday. So. But
Yeah, well, it feels like one of those nails being hammered into the coffin of Speedway.
Yeah.
You know,
well, we've gone to. I mean, obviously, this is the 30th year of the Grand Prix, and we seem to have gone back to where we were before, haven't we? Sort of, I mean, you know, I mean, no disrespect to Voynes, but is Voynes the sort of place where you want the final deciding Grand Prix to be? Because it's, you know, it's not really. I know Torrens obviously got the Speedway Nations this year, so that's why it's not staging a Grand Prix. But Torrens obviously become, you know, synonymous with it being the final Grand Prix and a fantastic venue and a great racetrack.
Great
as well,
racetrack, yeah. Well, oh dear.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish.
Well, that's a good positive start to the season.
Yeah, well, well, being positive, I wish Bellevue every success with the GP, and I hope it is a success.
Yep.
I'm sure from their point of view, it would have been better to have had the GP staggered a bit further apart,
Yeah.
not to be one straight after the other. And given that there was a date when Cardiff was being used, couldn't that have been when the other I don't know.
I think it's a risk. I think it is a risk, and certainly the one thing Bellevue will need is for the weather to play ball. Have to have the weather to play ball, because if it doesn't play ball and they end up not being able to run it, that's
losing 2 GPs.
Yeah, that's right. So
yeah, that's.
But as you say, wish them well, and hopefully we'll have a fantastic GP. I'll be interested to see what the ticket prices were, because I think when the Speedo Nations were staged there last year, I think the tickets were
bad, weren't they? Yeah.
You know, and that's certainly going to be playing a part on my mind. I'm waiting to see what the ticket prices are. If they're anything like that, then I shan't be going. So.
Okay, so we've got a few comments coming up. Do you want to go back a little bit further up so I can read some? Thank you. So we got a lot of welcome backs from people like John Bird and Pete Clark and Dave Twine. Fred Graham says, welcome back. I think the Premiership looking to be a decent league this coming season. Teams look pretty good and Speedway will be entertaining to watch. Yeah. Brian Buck, most of us regret the loss of Cardiff and especially how badly the announcement has been handled. Are you still standing up at the moment, Brian? Just checking. Dave Twine, Cardiff with a roof, Manchester with rain. Yes. David James, Paul Speedway very weak at reserve in 2025.
We'll discuss the championship shortly.
And Pete Clark says Birmingham are not the favourites for the wooden spoon. I think that's probably true. Just about. IGP is going to be on TV.
Yes.
TNT have taken over
Eurosport is going to be no more as of the 28th of February.
In this country.
Yeah, in this country and in Ireland as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see does that mean that the GPs are going to be on TNT and the league, of course, as well? Because obviously they've got the Premiership as well.
My understanding is that from what I've been reading today, that's what's going to happen, but it's also going to cost people a lot more to watch it.
I suppose in terms of the league, we've got the backup, obviously, of BSN, which has been a brilliant innovation, hasn't it? And very, very affordable as well. I think maybe more people might start to sort of go down that route. Okay, so I don't know who this is at the top because you chopped his name. Oh, there you go. Jeff Daniels. Only Cardiff had a roof for GPs until Warsaw came along. All other GPs are open stadiums and the Manchester rain is a silly myth. And as we all know, NSS can cope with rain better than any other track. I don't know what to say about the last bit. Well, that's opinion, I think. And I don't have an opinion on that. It does handle the rain well, to be fair, Bellevue. I will say that.
It's not... Manchester is not the place that has the most rain in Britain. Strangely, that's Cardiff.
Oh, really?
I thought it was here, because it hasn't stopped raining here for simply months. So.
I found out the other day that. But Manchester does have more than its fair share of rain.
Most places in this country.
Exactly. I mean, it's not alone. Not absolutely not alone on that. And that's The problem is having the two is if it does rain, you could potentially lose 2 meetings rather than one, having them so close together.
Yeah.
And that's not a Manchester problem. That's a fixture problem.
Yeah, Bellevue is I would say Bellevue is probably the one track in this country that could cope with 2 full length meetings back to back, day after day. I don't think there's any other track in the country that would be able to would be able to cope with that, because obviously they've got access to be able to work on the track.
So nobody here is actually criticising Bellevue,
No.
bemoaning the loss of Cardiff, because it was all best will in the world. It's a premier stadium. It's a fantastic stadium. Bellevue is a great speedway track.
Yeah,
and has the makings potentially of a good stadium, but ain't necessarily there yet. Would you agree? I mean, I've never been, so
I would agree with that. I would
what-
agree with that. The only thing, my only concern always has been with Bellevue is the fact that it's not. I think it could have. I know that they've had temporary stands there for the World Cup in 2016 and for the Speedway Nations, but I think that means also that they've taken some of the car parking away. So it's got to work. It's got to work, and hopefully it will. Hopefully we'll have a 2 brilliant Grand Prix. But I think it's disappointing that Cardiff has gone, and as I say, more so for the way that it was sort of handled as well. I think it could have been handled a lot better.
Okay, I've got a few more comments coming up. Some of them a bit. Excuse me, I'm just about to. A coughing fit.
How professional.
Oh dear.
I don't know. Hang on.
Right. Is it true that TNT Sport brought Speedway off Eurosport? I believe so. But
Well,
we'll find out.
I looked at the statement that TNT released earlier, and they haven't mentioned Speedway on it. So
No.
maybe
Well, we're used to
unless it's because they don't realise they've got it. So.
We're used to that.
Yeah.
Rich Thomas, for me, the top league looks like a 4-3 split. Sheffield, Ipswich, Lynn, Bellevue top 4. Birmingham, Leicester, Oxford fighting for the bottom. Okay, well, we'll come on to that. I probably don't necessarily disagree with that. TNT charging £30 a month to watch GP Speedway, says John Bird, which is a lot.
It's a lot. It was $6.99, wasn't it? From
Wow.
That's a
That's a
huge
jump in it.
huge jump. That is.
2.5.
Dave Twine says Brum's new riders. Oh, Dave Twine's disappeared. There we go. We'll need to get going from the first match. Has our track changed in the break to suit them? I can't possibly
I
answer
don't know
that.
whether there's any work been done on the track. I know there
Has been work done on the track. I haven't been down there myself, but I've been keeping a close eye on all the posts and everything, and they haven't stopped working. They've been down there
every weekend.
Every
haven't they?
weekend,
So,
yeah.
We'll say Birmingham have got a brilliant bunch of volunteers, but they do need more. To be fair. Like every track does, I think. Though.
Now then, the question of the hour.
Yeah.
From Stay Carter, rumours that MJJ contract only runs till May. Thoughts?
Do you want to have a big cough and I'll turn your mics off?
Yes, please.
Go on then.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There you go.
Thank you very much.
Yes, we saw this rumour a few weeks ago, didn't we? I think it was his Polish club.
I've said something about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I would love Birmingham management to come out and tell us.
I think
and
they need to come out and nip that in the bud straight
the
away.
fact that they haven't is worrying.
Yeah, because Birmingham have been down this route before, haven't they, with Adam Ellis a couple of years ago.
Absolutely.
So,
because everybody's really quite excited about that signing. It seems to be a really good, really positive signing.
Unfortunately as well, Jepsen Jensen's Polish club in particular have got a track record. And it seems to be a case of one of their riders rides in Britain. They've only got to hit a dry patch on the track and they're panicking. So you can't ride in Britain. You can't ride in Britain. Because obviously that was what happened with Nicky Pedersen when he came back to ride for Peterborough. He did I think rode one bend, came off. They didn't see him again, and that was the same Polish club.
Yeah, and then they had the whole situation with Jason Doyle and that last year, and they weren't very supportive of Jason when he got injured. Dave Twine says Manchester, boo. I don't know what to make of that. Thank you for your contribution, Dave. Simon Corbett, Kenyon Rue, the most astute signing
Yeah, I
for
think
Brum. That's an exciting signing.
yeah.
I
I
think.
think he struggled the first season at Ipswich. Obviously, it was I don't know whether he would have been used to the sort of track that Ipswich is, but I think last season he did vastly improve, and I think it's going to be good for him as well to change of a change of venue. What was his record at Perry Bar like? Most of our way riders are pretty good at Perry Bar over the last few
Yeah,
years.
I think
to
he
be
scored
fair,
a few
haven't they?
points.
But,
To be fair, I think he did score quite a few points.
Antivirus, I think, has been a pretty good. Is a pretty good move as well. But obviously, we'll come on to this at some point in the future.
So, Pete's come and told me that I have missed the reconstruction of the kickboards and air fences started last Sunday and will continue for the next few weeks. All welcome food and drink provided. There's the little advertisement for all those of you that want to go and help on a Sunday.
Yep.
I mean, if you want to do it, it's great crack. The lads are great. So, yeah. Okay, I think we've caught up. Do we want to have a look on YouTube? I'm remembering this time.
I'm on there now. I didn't want to come off on that channel, but I don't think there's any comments as of yet, but I shall keep you informed.
So I have another sort of going along with of the MJJ rumours, another rumour, or speculation probably more than rumour, that a certain Mr. Nick Morris will become available.
I'm lying. There's a few comments.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'll start from the top. Hello all. Looking forward to the new 225 season. Loads has happened over the winter. Lots to talk about. Clive Woodley. Stop moaning, Michael. At least you've got a team.
Okay.
Ben Creswell. Congrats on your wedding, Michael.
Thank you very much.
That was in the winter season. Darren Reynolds. With English Speedway clearly in trouble as is in Sweden and Denmark, why can't we have a European league? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I'm sorry. I mean, that's just how I feel at the moment. So Nick Morris becomes available at some point this season. Think somebody might take a punt on him? Do you think Birmingham might take a punt on him?
I would be very, very surprised if Birmingham took a punt on him because he didn't exactly endear himself when he had his spell at Birmingham before, did he?
No.
And I thought it would be a really, really good signing for the club, but just didn't work out. Even before the situation with his ban, I mean, his average is going to be relatively low, so I wouldn't be too surprised if maybe a championship club comes in for him during the season. But I think for Birmingham, they probably would steer away from that.
Next question: should somebody consider him? I mean, given what the reason he was banned from Speedway for the amount of time.
Well, at the end of the day, he served his ban, so he should be free to carry on. To try and resume his career if he's got the opportunity. There's no doubt he's a talented rider. I know that from when he rode for Wolves, but that last season it just didn't work, and obviously then you had the situation with what happened on that day at Perry Bar that changed everything. So
it really, it was not a great day.
Changed everything for Birmingham.
I mean, I'm with you. I think he served his time.
Yeah.
What's the point of having time to serve if that's not then not necessarily a clean slate, but okay, you've got a chance.
Yeah.
Show us. So, okay, so it seems that there's positive news coming out of Mildenhall with meetings coming up this season after the fire last
keep our
year.
Fingers crossed for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good. Yeah.
Rich Thomas says Morris, hopefully not. And Brian Buck says, I have nowhere seen any evidence of Nick Morris being linked with Birmingham. This is just a rumour created by someone on the BSF.
Just putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 6 again.
I don't think there'd be.
I would be astonished if Nick Morris is riding for Birmingham at any point in 2025.
Yeah, I don't.
But then again, we've been wrong before, so
yeah. Absolutely. Somebody said that it's there somewhere. MJJ and Zagar were at their best 10 years ago. Well, we will find out. I think MJJ at the moment seems to be.
He had a great season
He had
last
a
year.
really
didn't he?
good season,
I mean,
so-
at one point he looked like he was going to be a real prospect when he first rode. When he
Yes,
first,
he
I think
did,
he
yeah.
first rode over here. I think it was in another 21 meeting in about 2012, I think, and he looked a really, really good prospect. And he hasn't really made the progress that a lot of people expected he would do. But as I say, he had a fantastic season last season in a very strong Polish league. And if he does have a full season at Birmingham, then and he can carry that on, he should be delivering big points in the division.
Has the potential to be our number one.
Yeah,
I would say, if he stays long enough.
yeah.
But we don't. These rumours, I hate them, and they always seem to surround Birmingham.
I would have liked to have seen Birmingham come out and make a statement about that. Because at the end of the day, you know what it's like with Birmingham. Any first sign of any negativity, and people just switch off, don't they?
Yeah, because we've had. Let's be honest, we've had 2 seasons of dross.
Yeah.
That you can't. There's been the odd. I mean, I think the racing last year, actually, to be fair, had some good meetings.
I thought the racing at Perry Bar last year, by and large, was very good. I think the season before was abysmal. Because I think really with that team, I think there was a bit more fight with one exception last season in the Birmingham team, especially towards the end of the season. I mean, the defeats were getting smaller. I mean, they were still losing matches, but they were only losing matches by 2 or 3 points. But they obviously ended the season very, very well against an Ipswich team that really had run out of steam. So
Graham Oldfield, and this is not your fault, Graham. I'm not having a go at you here, but this is a sort of comment that it annoys me a little bit when he says, I think Brum should have kept young Lampard, be good next year. I'm sure we wanted to. I'm sure we wanted to keep him, but he doesn't want to ride in this country this year. He's not riding in this country, so...
I think Birmingham really needed the clean slate. They couldn't really have had any of last season's.
Well, now then, here comes to one of my pet hates.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why I'm feeling a bit down, I don't necessarily agree with what you just said. I mean... I think Birmingham Speedway in particular, and Speedway in general, but in particular Birmingham Speedway's problems, dating right back to 2007, is the lack of continuity of riders. I've been looking through it, and most years we keep 1 or 2 riders, going back right to 2007. You've had Jason Lyons all the way through those early years, and not much else. And you had people. Then you had Danny King, and you had
Ben Barker.
Yeah, and they became favourite riders because they were there all the time.
Yeah.
Now you look at through the league this year, the Premiership. Most teams have got 2, 3, or more of they've retained riders from the year before.
Yeah.
And obviously the big shock for Birmingham supporters, the one rider that everybody wanted to keep and everybody in the league thought that seemed to want was Brennan.
But Tom Brennan was never going to come back to Birmingham this year.
But it's just such a...
So
something needs to be done at Birmingham, but in the sport in general. So you imagine, say you're a big Birmingham City supporter. You have your close season and you go back and 50% of your team's gone. Would you be happy about that and it's been changed?
Depends how they did the previous season.
Not if they're any good.
Yeah.
But you would have your favourites, wouldn't you?
Of course, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
of course.
And it's that connection that brings people in and keeps them coming, particularly young people.
Understandable. Yeah.
As an old fogey, I can sort of be, okay, we needed to get, like you just said, we needed to get rid of everybody because they were rubbish. But from the point of view of bringing crowds in and continue and keeping a connection with the team, you've got to have continuity. And again, I'm not blaming anybody at Birmingham for. I understand all the decisions that were made and the decisions that were taken out of their hand, like Tom Brennan and all the rest of it. It's just so disheartening. You know, it's just so disheartening. I know of at least 2 people that got lost to Speedway because of that situation, and I know them because they're both my sons. It just took the steam out of them.
Yeah.
And so, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to come back next year and I'm going to see, Tom will be there. And no, he's not.
Yeah.
I don't think it's good for Birmingham. I don't think it's good for Speedway. And I think it's one of the problems that Birmingham have had, and one of the reasons that they've had for not retaining crowds.
Dave Albright wants to know, are there any highlights of Ice Speedway on TV at any time soon?
No.
Not that I'm aware of, but I bet if you troll YouTube, you'll get stuff will appear.
Brian Mason said, I think Ipswich are really strong this season with Emil Jason and Tom riding together this season.
Okay, well, let's just say it here because I don't think anybody will disagree with. I think we'll all agree. Ipswich keep that team injury free. They've won the league, haven't they?
They look the strongest team. Yeah, I think. I mean, should we go through the teams now?
Let's go through them as really, really quickly.
Okay, we'll go for Bellevue first. So they've got Dan Bewley, Brady Kurtz, Joy Lidsey, Zach Cook, Norrit Bladorn, Tate Zisk, and their rising star, Jake Mulford.
First thing that I say is well done to Bellevue for being Tate Zisk and bringing him back in.
Yep.
And being loyal. This is one of the things that I was just been talking about. So I think it's a strong team.
He's their key man because he was flying, wasn't he, last time? And he had that horrific injury last season. Is he going to? Hopefully, he can maintain that level. I haven't seen him ride yet. I'm looking forward to seeing him ride, to be honest. And hopefully, he can maintain what he was doing last season. But that team is a top. That is a top four team. There's no doubt about that. Big season for Brady Kurtz, of course. It's going to be interesting to see how he gets on in the.
He came on such a bundle.
He was brilliant last season. I mean, he was the best rider in the league. I thought last season he was outstanding. So it's going to be interesting to see how he balances that with being in the GPs as well, and obviously doing the other leagues.
This is a question for you. Brian Buck says, I'm not a football fan, so I stand to be corrected, but I'm told that Birmingham City haven't retained any of their 2024 team either.
23-24. There's probably not many, but he's not far off.
Operates very differently in the lower leagues, doesn't he? Because obviously there's a retained list and things like that all the clubs have. So in the lower leagues,
He's not far off.
Dave Twine says it's not ticket prices, Michael. See, I think ticket prices do play a part in things, but only when you think, well, is it worth me going because they're going to. I don't know anybody. That then becomes. But if you're excited and want to go, the ticket prices don't play such a part in your thinking.
No. I think you're right. I think you're right. What is the average price now for a meeting?
We haven't been. Do we know the ticket prices?
I think most of them have been released now. Obviously, we might do that when we do our next show towards the start of the season. We might have a look through some of the
ticket prices.
So it's a good idea. It's got to be £15,
okay.
isn't it? 15 more. Okay.
Right, let's go for the next one then. That is, of course, Birmingham. So, Tobias Music, Matty Zagar, Keenan Rowe, Jonas Jepsen, Michael Jepsen Jensen, Antti Vulas, and the rising star, Jason Edwards.
Well, great rising star, I think, for a start.
Arguably the strongest in the league.
Let's not go down that path again.
Arguably, I will say. Arguably. Okay. We said that last season that Birmingham would have the strongest reserves, and it didn't work.
So I'm really pleased about that. I'm really pleased about Mujlak.
Yeah,
I think
if he can get back to the form that he had when he was at Sheffield and Swindon. Yeah. Obviously, it was a bit of a disaster, at Kings Lynn last year. It didn't really work.
MJJ is, I think, going to be an exciting rider.
Yeah, I think that's the one that took everybody by surprise, isn't it? So,
yeah. Zagar is possibly a bit of a punt.
Yeah, he's a bit of a Marmite character, isn't he, Matty Zagar?
Antti Vulas. I liked him when I saw him.
He was very impressive at Perry Bar last season, wasn't he? So, I think he's certainly another one for the future. Jonas Jepsen, I don't really know that much about, to be honest, but so I'm looking forward to seeing him, and obviously Kenyon Rear we've already discuss him. I think that's obviously a big move, and Jason Edwards was tremendous for Sheffield.
So
last
the
season,
potential's there. I mean, the concern is with Birmingham is that they had once again built below the limit.
Yeah.
So everybody's got to improve.
They have to, yeah.
It is the concern. You can't have any hangers on.
I think there's certainly there's 2 or 3 rides in that team that I think are more than capable of putting a point on their average. So
I don't think it's going to be the wooden spoon.
no, I think I would agree with that. I think obviously Muselak and Jepsen and Muselak, I think he's such an entertaining rider to watch as well when he's on song. Hopefully he can bounce back from what was a bit of a disaster last season for a
I think if they can get the problem with the track last year wasn't that the track wasn't any good, it was that it wasn't consistent from one week to the other, and there were reasons for that and so on, but I think we do need a consistent track this year. And
all the riders that any home rider wants a consistent track, don't they?
Yeah.
I can remember years ago, I'm reading an interview with one rider at one club. I can't remember which one it was, but he said, "I don't mind if the track's rough as long as it's rough every week, not rough one week, smooth the next week, wet the week after."
So anyway, I think potentially 5th. There's a potential to be 5th, and possibly if the wind's going the right way. Yeah, and injuries is always
the one thing that is absolutely crucial for Birmingham. They need to be better at home. They can't have another season where they're losing virtually every match at home as well. And obviously, any away wins will be a bonus, but they've got to make sure that they've got a good home record.
I mean, if you think back to last season, and we had so many
last heat deciders.
We might not, and if those last heat deciders had gone the other way, it would have been a really exciting season. You probably wouldn't have won anything, but it would have been a really exciting season at home. And so it's that sort of a season I think we need this year.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Birmingham need a solid season where they don't have any injuries. There's no real issues with riders getting banned or anything like that. Just a good solid season where they're winning a lot of matches and good entertaining racing. Massive season for Birmingham, I think, this year.
Okay, there's a few comments to just catch up on if you want to just roll up a little bit for me. Okay,
those are links by the way.
Yeah, link for the ice speedway, which I'm definitely going to have a look at later. Fred Graham says we at Glasgow Speedway wanted to keep Tom Brennan for 2024, but he wanted to move. Think the same for this season as far as staying at Birmingham. Sorry to say, I think he got.
There was no way he was staying at Birmingham this year.
And he's a nice guy and everything, and I wish him all the best. Just hope he just absolutely rubbish when he comes to Birmingham.
Well, he'll get a great reception when he comes back to Perry Bar, admittedly. But
Pete Clark says Jason Edwards is one of the nicest young riders that I've ever met. Big year for him.
Yeah, nice guy, Jason.
And Pete also says we are going to get the dizzy heights of mid-table. So it doesn't sound great mid-table when there's only 7 teams in the league, but
but it sounds better than bottom every season, doesn't it? So,
yes, absolutely.
Let's move on then to the team that I think everybody agrees is the one to beat. That's Ipswich. So Emil Seifuldenoff, Dan Thompson, Danny King, Adam Ellis, Jason Doyle, Tom Brennan, and the rising star Jordan Jenkins.
Yeah, there's just nothing there that says last place.
Well, the key man I think in that team is Danny King because he's had a couple of really poor seasons, hasn't he? If he can fire, then you'd struggle to see Ipswich losing too many matches, to be honest, home and away. He's not going to be in that team as a third heat leader as well, so there's obviously not going to be as much of an expectation on him to sort of rise to be that main hitter behind the big two of Doyle and Seifuldenoff.
There's just there is no last places in there.
Yeah,
that's what I say.
You beat Ipswich this season. I think you're doing a damn good job.
Well, of course we did it last season, so
and Ipswich team had run out of steam, admittedly. So
yeah.
Shh. Okay, so Kings Lynn we've got next. So Jan Kovac, Niels Christian Everson, Nikolai Clint, Ben Cook, Chris Harris, Richard Lawson, and Ashton Boven is their rising star. solid team as
Yeah,
well.
it looks a
I mean, I thought Kingsland's team last season looked a pretty exciting team, and it never it did on paper, but it's the old saying, isn't it? Good on paper, rubbish on shale. But obviously Bomber, another I think that's
very exciting rider,
yeah.
always.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ben Cook he's obviously moved away from Bellevue. Nikolai Clint, obviously, it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on because he's had 2 seasons that have been completely decimated by injuries. Jankovic, I thought, was impressive when he came over to race for Kingsland last season. He's now back for a full year. Niels Christian Everson, he's got his testimonial this year as well. Okay, he's not the rider that he was 10 years ago, but still should be solid in the middle part of the team. And Ashton Bobbin, I think, I been really, really excited to see the progress he's made.
Yes.
It was excellent for Oxford last season. So
yeah, when they came and we thought, oh well, Leon Flint's going to clean up at reserve here, and he got shown the way around.
yeah. I think I'm right in saying as well that next season Chris Harris is starting for Kingsland at reserve.
Yes.
So I think that might be right, but
Yeah, somebody else has said that. Rich Thomas says Bomber starts at reserve. Bonus. And what a rider to have in your team to help other people out as well.
yeah.
He's seen it all done, everything, hasn't he?
I can't think of a club that Bomber hasn't ridden for now, to be honest. He must have ridden for
Reading. Yeah, I think I'm right.
Yeah.
Because I think they closed in 2007.
2008 was Reading's last season, yeah. So
Simon Corbett says only worry about Brum with a lot of foreigners is rider availability. I don't think that's the only worry, but it is a worry.
Pete Clark, Bomber at reserve. John Burr's shock is Ben Cook moving away from Bellevue. That was a bit of a surprise. Obviously, they've
numbers game, isn't it?
They bought in his brother as his replacement as well. So be interesting to see how Zach Cook gets on, because obviously Bellevue's the sort of track that does suit him. So
he had a great finish to the season last year.
Well, he had a point to prove, I think, didn't he? Because I think most people disagreed with the decision to drop him in the first place, really. So let's move on to Leicester, last season's beaten finalists. So they have got Max Frick, Carl Howarth, Luke Becker, Craig Cook, Sam Masters, Ryan Douglas, and their rising star, Sam Hagan.
It's not a top 4, I don't think.
Well, the one thing that Leicester, of course, are going to have sort of
Home
is
track
their
advantage.
big home track advantage. They've, that's always been the case for them. I think it's Max Frick obviously is an exceptional rider. He had a brilliant season last season for them. I just can't see too many last places. The only thing with Leicester is, are they going to be able to get the results on the road?
On the road.
That's going to be the big. I think the days of just
Find
being,
that early on, don't we?
Yeah, I think the days of being successful just by winning your home matches, I think you need to get results on the road as well. That's what I think Birmingham are going to need, as well as a very good season at home, which they haven't had for a long time. They need to get results. They need to try and pick up a few points on the road as well.
Last year we scored more points away from home than we did at home.
Yeah. Yeah,
strangely.
I would say it's a solid team, Leicester, but I don't see that team as a. It might edge into the top 4, but I don't think it'll really go past that.
John Bird saying that Leicester could struggle without Lawson. It could be.
I think that's a big loss for them, because Lawson was obviously has been a good performer for Leicester in recent seasons.
I think it's a big year for their American. His name has gone out of my head. Luke Becker, who I've always wanted to ride at Birmingham, as you know.
Yeah, big fan of Luke Becker.
But he didn't have the greatest season last year.
I thought he made a mistake going there, to be honest. I think,
not his sort of track.
Not his sort of track. I mean, ultimately he's a big track man. He sort of took him a little bit of time to get used to Monmouth, because people's perception really of the fact that Monmouth was, because it was a small track, it suited all the Americans, but some of the Americans prefer the bigger tracks. So
we're possibly a bit of a struggle for Leicester.
I think they'll be doing well to repeat last season of getting to the final. I mean, really, last season they got to the final and it was a damp squib, because they never looked like they were going to challenge Bellevue in that final.
It's a shame, really, but
yeah. As for Oxford, they're next. So they've got Rowan Tungate, Charles Wright, Eric Riss, Matsei Noski, Peter Kilderman, Francis Gusts, and rising star Luke Colleen.
They've done a Birmingham, haven't they?
Yeah.
They've come under the limit for a starter.
Yep.
And they finished their signings after we did.
Yeah.
We've won one race already.
Well, Rowan Tungate had a phenomenal season last season.
Mm.
I mean, I think that surprised a lot of people with his performances. He was, the 2 matches he rode at Birmingham, he was superb. He got him, was it a 15-point maximum? He might have got. I know he definitely got one. Did he possibly might have got two?
Might have done, yeah.
I think losing Bomber is a blow for them. Peter Kilderman was a terrific rider about 10 years ago. Whether
We've
he's still
heard this
gonna
again.
be- whether he's still going to be there. Maciejowski didn't really hit the heights last season that everybody expected him to do. He's sort of a rider that's lost his way a little bit in recent seasons.
That does not to say that he doesn't gain his form back next year.
Yeah.
Improve us all wrong, of course.
I don't say. I mean, Oxford obviously did well their first season back in the
Incredibly well.
Just missed out, of course, on the top four. I think it'll be a struggle for them to sort of match that again. Really,
Is there something going on here where the two teams that have only just joined the Premiership
yeah,
are the teams that are having difficulty getting riders?
yeah, I think so.
You think we're being frozen out a little bit?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think there's other teams in that league that have got bigger budgets and they're more established in the top flight, so they've got the asset bases that Birmingham and Oxford don't really have. I mean, Oxford obviously have only been back in the sport for 3-4 years, I think it is.
Mm.
So, and they've done well, Oxford, in fairness, but
Yeah, but as soon as they've got into the Premiership, all of a sudden it feels like they're being, as I say, frozen out from
Yeah.
riders and stuff, and it's really hard. So I think a lot of people have been basically predicting Oxford to be wooden spoons next year. What are we saying the same, do you think?
I think it's between them and Leicester, personally. But of course, we've still got one team, and that's Sheffield. So they were going with Jack Holder, Chris Holder, Ty Wiffenden, Josh Pickering, Anders Rowe, Daniel Hume, and their rising star is Leon Flint.
First thing is, I think Sheffield track will suit Leon
Yeah,
much better than our track did last year, which is strange to say when he was brought up on our track a
Yep.
little bit. But it's a good solid team, isn't it?
it is. I mean, obviously, you've got a good top four in, obviously, the Holder brothers. Jack obviously had a terrific season last year. Chris Holder, of course, not the rider he was, but still solid, third heat leader. Ty Wiffenden, of course, he's got to have a point to prove.
Exactly.
He had a good season, obviously, in the league last season until his injury, but his Grand Prix performances were a disaster. He's already made a point of saying that he wants to get back in the GPs. Whether that's realistic, I don't know, but I certainly wouldn't. You wouldn't
wouldn't write him off, would you?
Josh Pickering, he's a brilliant rider to watch, isn't he? So
Yeah, great rider.
Yeah, Anders Rowe made huge steps in the recent years after getting sacked by somebody sitting not too far away from me. If we remember that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Shush.
Daniel Hume, obviously we obviously know Daniel from when he was at Birmingham. Great lad. Again, I think Sheffield's a track that'll suit him as well. So, yeah,
Fearless right
yeah,
now.
Sheffield. They're going to be.
I'm going to say top two. I'm going to say probably second in
Yeah.
the season. But
I think at the moment I would say Ipswich, Sheffield, Bellevue, Kings Lynn. That's my top four.
I don't think I'd disagree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, possibly. No, I think that's right. Actually, I was going to change the order a little bit, but no, I don't. Yeah.
I would say Ipswich and Sheffield final would be my prediction long term, but that would be my.
That
top
would be
four.
a great final in the sense of it's two very different tracks.
Yeah.
Well,
Great final would be Sheffield and Bellevue as well because of the rivalry between the two clubs, and we had a brilliant final between them 2-3 years ago, didn't we? So,
absolutely.
okay.
Right, shall we catch up on some of the comments? And I think we need to think about wrapping this up soon.
Yeah.
But
Apologies, we have we were sort of things have gone a bit we've got sort of stuck on that, haven't we? Really, been a bit sad. But the championship, obviously, when we do our next show, we don't know when that's going to be yet, but we will do a full preview of the championship and the National League as
And
well.
the National League and was it the National Trophy and the National League? Is that right? National Development Trophy.
Of course, obviously the championship hasn't completed yet because Plymouth haven't got their 7th rider yet. So
Yeah, so that's our excuse.
Yep.
There you go. Okay, Pete Clark says the USA versus GB is on BSN.
That's on
Is that-
Saturday. Yep.
Yep.
Don't know what the
okay.
race format is yet. And whether it's a standard Heat 15 format.
Yeah, well, we will find. Dave Twine says it's 15 heats plus rider of the night. I'm presuming he's talking about that match in particular. Otherwise, I don't understand that. £13 to watch it on BSN. That's not bad, is it?
It's nice for all of us nostalgics who remember the great England-America Test matches from many, many years ago.
And how heated those things used to get. My life.
Especially when you had Pennell and Carter there. So.
Yes.
There, we all know they're. Incidentally, I should say at the moment I'm reading Alan Carter's autobiography.
Okay.
Definitely recommend it. It's a fantastic book, and real eye opener into the sort of some of the horrific tragedies that have hit the
Carter
family. Yeah, so but definitely recommend it.
I think
Doesn't sugarcoat anything so far.
I think people are looking back on that with slightly different eyes to how they did before. Now that we have a greater understanding about mental illness and everything,
Yeah.
I think people are looking back on that with not quite such a damning eye.
Well, it's 40. Well, I think it's 39 years, isn't it? Since it's 40 years this year since we lost Billy Sanders as well. That's coming up in March,
God,
I think. So,
yeah.
So,
Ex-Birmingham rider
yeah.
for half a season.
Yeah, but definitely, I would recommend the Alan Carter book. It's
You've heard it here
definitely
first.
one worth reading.
Right, well, I think we have to wind things up now because it's your bedtime, isn't it, Chris?
It is, yes, I'm afraid, yeah.
Life gets it. Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans, as they say.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I hope that, and I do feel a little bit more positive. A
Good.
little bit, because it gets the juices flowing when you start talking about it and start looking forward to it.
I think when you get to the start of the season, when you sort of everyone's having their press and practice days, and you start seeing the photographs from the practicing and things like that. Going to the first night of the season, even if it's the practice night.
Ben Cresswell, for some reason, has just said prediction league. Yes, of course, there'll be a prediction league.
Yeah, we haven't had any matches yet, unfortunately, Ben. So
There might be something else as well where I'm working on it. Okie dokie. You take care, everyone. See you
we will be back, hopefully not in the not too distant future.
probably late February, early March, I would
and
think.
we will pick up on the Championship and the National League as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Take care, everybody. Have a good time.
Good
Bye.
night.
Bye.
Good night.
Yeah, right.
Come and have your say.